The radio crackled with static as Officer Elena Sanchez's voice faded into silence. Her final words, "Officer down. Oak Ridge Park, please," hung in the air like a ghost's whisper. What happened in the hours that followed would not only save a life but transform an entire community, revealing how the most unexpected connections can heal the deepest wounds. If you're moved by stories of ordinary heroes and second chances, hit that like button and subscribe to witness more incredible journeys of the human spirit. The day had started like any other for Marcus Chen. At 42, his life revolved around two things: his 8-year-old daughter Lily and the small bookstore he'd opened after his wife's death 3 years ago. The store barely made enough to keep them afloat, but it provided stability for Lily, who still slept with her mother's sweater tucked under her pillow. That October evening, Marcus had taken Lily to Oak Ridge Park to feed the ducks, a simple ritual that had become their sanctuary amidst grief. The autumn air carried a slight chill, and the setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. "Dad, look!" Lily pointed toward the dense cluster of trees at the park's edge. "I think someone's hurt." Marcus squinted, making out a dark figure slumped against a tree. His first instinct was caution. Living in Millfield for 15 years had taught him the city's growing pains. But something in his daughter's concerned expression pushed him forward. "Stay here," he instructed Lily, placing her on the bench with her backpack. "Don't move." As Marcus approached, details emerged that made his heart pound harder. The navy uniform. The badge catching the fading sunlight. The alarming dark stain spreading across the officer's side. It was Officer Elena Sanchez, not that Marcus knew her name then. He only knew she was barely conscious, her breathing shallow, one hand weakly pressed against what appeared to be a gunshot wound. "Officer? Can you hear me?" Marcus knelt beside her, pulling off his jacket to press against the wound. Her eyes fluttered open, deep brown with flecks of gold, registering confusion then focus. "Radio," she managed, gesturing weakly to the device that had fallen beside her. "Call, backup." Marcus grabbed the radio with his free hand, pressing buttons until he heard a response. "Hello? There's an officer injured at Oak Ridge Park, east side by the Oak Grove. She's been shot. We need an ambulance now." The dispatcher's voice responded immediately, but Elena was fading again. Marcus pressed harder on the wound, whispering urgently, "Stay with me, officer. Help is coming. Stay with me." Her eyes locked with his, something passing between them, a silent agreement. She wasn't going to die here, not today, not like this. "Lily." Marcus called over his shoulder. "Bring me your water bottle and my backpack." His daughter approached cautiously, her eyes wide with fear but steady with the resilience that had carried her through her mother's death. She handed over the items and then, without prompting, took the officer's hand in hers. "My mom died," Lily said simply. "But you're not going to. My dad won't let you." Those words would later echo in Elena's mind during her recovery, the simple faith of a child who had seen too much death already. The next 15 minutes stretched like eternity. Marcus maintained pressure on the wound while Lily kept talking to Elena, telling her about school, about the ducks, about anything to keep her conscious. In the distance, sirens wailed, growing louder. When the paramedics arrived, they worked quickly, efficiently. "Good job keeping pressure," one of them told Marcus as they loaded Elena into the ambulance. "You probably saved her life." Marcus didn't think much of those words at the time. He cleaned his hands at a park fountain, collected Lily, and they walked home in silence, both shaken by the encounter. They didn't expect to hear anything more about the wounded officer. They certainly didn't expect how their lives would intertwine with hers in the coming months. 3 days later, the bell above the bookstore door jingled. Marcus looked up from the inventory spreadsheet to see 2 police officers, a tall man with salt and pepper hair and a younger woman with a serious expression. "Marcus Chen?" the male officer asked. "Yes," Marcus replied, instinctively glancing toward the back room where Lily was doing homework. "I'm Captain Reynolds, and this is Officer Patel. We'd like to talk to you about what happened at the park." What followed was an interview that revealed the larger context of what Marcus and Lily had stumbled into. Officer Elena Sanchez had been working undercover, investigating a drug trafficking operation that had infiltrated several levels of city government. She'd been made and ambushed in the park, left for dead until Marcus found her. "The information she gathered is helping us dismantle one of the biggest corruption cases this city has seen," Captain Reynolds explained. "And without your intervention, she wouldn't have survived to deliver it." Officer Patel added, "Officer Sanchez is recovering at Millfield General. She's asking to see you, both of you." Marcus hesitated. "I'm not sure that's a good idea. Lily's been through a lot, and seeing Officer Sanchez in a hospital might be difficult for her." Captain Reynolds' expression softened. "We know about your wife, Mr. Chen. Officer Sanchez knows too. She wouldn't ask if it wasn't important to her." The next day, Marcus and Lily stood outside hospital room 415, a small potted plant in Lily's hands, her idea. When they entered, Elena was sitting up in bed, her complexion pale but her eyes alert and warm. "My heroes," she said softly, smiling at Lily. "I was hoping you'd come." Lily approached the bed without hesitation. "We brought you a plant because flowers die, but plants keep growing if you take care of them." Elena's eyes glistened. "That's perfect. And very wise." Over the next hour, a connection formed between the wounded officer and the father-daughter pair. Elena shared sanitized versions of her police work that fascinated Lily, while Marcus found himself drawn to Elena's dedication and resilience. As they prepared to leave, Elena reached for Marcus's hand. "Thank you," she said, her voice carrying the weight of what might have been. "Not just for saving my life, but for reminding me why it's worth living." What none of them realized then was that this meeting was just the beginning. Elena's recovery was slow and painful. The bullet had damaged her liver, requiring extensive surgery and rehabilitation. During those months, Marcus and Lily became regular visitors. At first, they came out of concern, then out of genuine friendship. Lily would bring homework to complete while sitting in Elena's room, and Marcus would bring books he thought Elena might enjoy during her recovery. For Elena, these visits became a lifeline. The investigation she'd been part of continued without her, each arrest and revelation making headlines. But as the case expanded, so did the threats. 2 weeks after Elena's release from the hospital, Captain Reynolds assigned a protective detail to her apartment. "Just until we round up the remaining players," he assured her, though the concern in his eyes belied his confident tone. It was during this time that Elena first visited Marcus's bookstore, Beautiful Minds Books. With a security officer discreetly positioned outside, she browsed the carefully curated shelves, noting how each section reflected thought and care. "This is wonderful," she told Marcus as he rang up the mystery novel she'd selected. "How long have you had the store?" 5 years, he replied. "Angela and I opened it together. After she died, I thought about selling, but..." He glanced toward the children's corner where Lily was helping a young customer find a picture book. "It gives Lily stability. A connection to her mother." Elena nodded, understanding the unspoken grief that still shaped their lives. "Angela must have been remarkable." "She was," Marcus agreed, a sad smile touching his lips. "She would have liked you." That evening, after closing the store, Marcus received a call from Captain Reynolds. The call that would change everything. "There's been a threat," Reynolds explained without preamble. "Specifically targeting Officer Sanchez. We're moving her to a safe house, but our resources are stretched thin with this case. We need somewhere unexpected, somewhere off the grid." The request hung in the air, unspoken but clear. "My house has a finished basement apartment," Marcus heard himself say. "Angela used to use it as an art studio." 2 hours later, Elena arrived with a single suitcase and a police escort. Lily, already in pajamas, watched wide-eyed from the staircase as Marcus showed Elena to the basement apartment. "It's not much," he apologized, gesturing to the simple space with its daybed, kitchenette, and small bathroom. "It's perfect," Elena replied, setting down her bag. "And temporary. Just until they make the last arrests." She hesitated, then added, "I don't want to disrupt your lives." "You're not," Marcus assured her, though he wasn't entirely convinced himself. Having a police officer hiding in his home, particularly one connected to a major corruption case, was hardly the quiet life he'd built for Lily. That first night, Marcus lay awake, listening for any unusual sounds, wondering if he'd made the right decision. Below him, Elena also remained awake, her service weapon beside her bed, wondering the same thing. Their unlikely household arrangement began awkwardly. Lily was delighted to have Elena he could respond. Alexander turned to Rebecca. "And you must be Rebecca, Daniel's ex-wife." "Yes," she said, extending her hand with a dazzling smile. "Lovely to meet you, Mr. Reeves." Alexander looked at her hand but didn't take it. "Daniel speaks very highly of your daughter. Lily, isn't it? He's incredibly proud of her." Rebecca's smile faltered. "Our daughter, yes." "Interesting," Alexander said. "From what I understand, Daniel has raised her alone since she was 2. In fact, he's turned down several promotions over the years because they would have required travel that would take him away from her." I stared at Alexander in shock. "How did he know this?" "Well," Rebecca said, recovering quickly, "co-parenting is complicated." "So I've heard," Alexander replied coolly. "Though it typically requires both parents to participate." The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Alexander turned back to me. "Daniel, I hate to pull you away from your reunion, but I have a car waiting. There are some details about the new position we need to discuss, and I'm flying to Tokyo tomorrow morning." "Of course," I said, still stunned by the turn of events. As we turned to leave, Rebecca stepped forward. "Daniel, we should catch up properly sometime. Maybe you and Lily could come to the lake house next weekend?" I looked at her, seeing clearly for the first time the calculation behind her smile. For 14 years, she'd barely acknowledged Lily's existence beyond the minimum required by our custody agreement, which gave her one weekend a month that she rarely used. Now that I might be worth knowing again, she wanted to catch up. "I appreciate the offer," I said, "but Lily and I have plans every weekend for the foreseeable future." I nodded goodbye to the group and followed Alexander toward the exit. As we walked away, I heard Rebecca's voice, louder than necessary. "Well, good for Daniel. Though I wonder how long it will last. He never could handle pressure very well." I tensed, but Alexander placed a hand on my shoulder and kept walking. When we were out of earshot, he spoke quietly. "For what it's worth, Daniel, I've reviewed your personnel file extensively. You've handled more pressure with grace and competence than most executives I know. Raising a child alone while excelling at your job? That's not a limitation. That's extraordinary strength." We reached the hotel lobby, and I finally found my voice. "Sir, I appreciate what you did back there, but, why? You don't know me. We've never even spoken directly before tonight." Alexander stopped walking and turned to face me. 3 years ago, my sister died unexpectedly. Her husband couldn't handle it and abandoned their son, my nephew. I became his guardian overnight. I had no idea what I was doing. A colleague suggested I reach out to you for advice. Me? I was completely confused now. You have a reputation at Horizon, Daniel. The dedicated single dad who somehow makes it all work. I never got the courage to approach you directly. It seemed inappropriate given our positions, but I had HR send me all your accommodation requests over the years. The flexible schedule for school events, the work-from-home days during school breaks. I used them as a template for my own arrangements. I was speechless. My nephew is thriving now, Alexander continued. And I've learned that being there for him hasn't made me less effective as a CEO, it's made me more human. More understanding of what really matters. He smiled. The promotion is real, by the way. You earned it. The timing of finding you here was just serendipitous. I don't know what to say, I admitted. Say you'll accept the position, Alexander replied. And that you'll consider joining the company's new family support initiative. We're developing programs to help employees balance work and family responsibilities. We need someone with real experience to lead it. As we walked out of the hotel into the cool night air, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders, a weight I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying. For years, I'd measured my worth against Rebecca's definition of success: money, status, power. I'd felt like a failure because I couldn't provide Lily with the material advantages Rebecca's children had. But standing there with Alexander Reeves, a man who could buy and sell the entire reunion attendee list without blinking, I realized that success could be defined differently. That maybe, just maybe, I'd been successful all along. I'd be honored to accept, I said finally. Both positions. Alexander smiled and gestured to a sleek black car waiting at the curb. Excellent. Now, let's discuss the details over dinner. And you can tell me how you managed to get a teenager to clean their room, because I'm completely failing at that particular challenge. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. First rule of parenting: pick your battles. Sage advice already, Alexander said, opening the car door. I think this is the beginning of a very productive partnership. As the car pulled away from the hotel, I took one last look at the reunion I'd dreaded for months. Inside that ballroom, I'd been defined by my past, by what I'd lost and what I'd never achieved. But here, in this moment, I was being defined by what I'd built: a loving relationship with my daughter, a reputation for integrity, and a future full of unexpected possibilities. I pulled out my phone and texted Lily, "You were right. Facing my fears was worth it. Can't wait to tell you everything. Love you." Her reply came seconds later, "Told you so, Dad. Love you too." The next morning, I woke up early, my mind still processing everything that had happened. The promotion would mean a substantial salary increase, enough to start a college fund for Lily that would rival anything Rebecca's money could provide. But more importantly, it was validation that the choices I'd made hadn't been limitations but strengths. I made coffee and sat at my kitchen table, the same one where Lily and I had eaten thousands of meals together, where we'd done homework, played board games, and had difficult conversations about growing up without a mother. Our house might not be a lakefront mansion, but it was filled with love and memories. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Daniel, it's Alexander. Before I board my flight, I wanted to make sure you tell Lily the news today. Family should be the first to celebrate our victories. The paperwork can wait until Monday." I smiled and texted back a thank you. Then I started making Lily's favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes. It was our Sunday tradition, but today felt like a day for breaking routine. The sound of teenage footsteps on the stairs announced Lily's arrival. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, her dark hair a mess, still in her pajamas. "Pancakes on Saturday?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Did someone die?" I laughed. "No, quite the opposite. I have news." She sat down at the table, suddenly alert despite the early hour. "The reunion? What happened? Did you see Mom?" I flipped a pancake before answering. "I did see your mother. And it went about as well as expected." Lily's face fell. "She was awful, wasn't she?" "She was, herself," I said diplomatically. "But that's not the news." I told her everything, about Alexander's appearance, the promotion, the family support initiative. As I spoke, her eyes grew wider. "VP of Product Development," she exclaimed when I finished. "Dad, that's huge." And you'll be helping other parents? That's perfect for you. Her enthusiasm warmed my heart. It means some changes, I cautioned. More responsibility at work. Maybe some travel occasionally. I'm 16, not 6, she reminded me. I can handle you being gone sometimes. Especially if it means you're finally getting recognized for how amazing you are. I placed a stack of pancakes in front of her. You think I'm amazing, huh? Don't let it go to your head, she said, drowning her pancakes in syrup. But yeah, I do. You know what else is amazing? That you showed up, Mom, without even trying. I sat down across from her with my own breakfast. That wasn't the point. Maybe not for you, Lily said, her expression suddenly serious. But it matters to me. She spent years making you feel small for prioritizing me. For once, she had to see that choosing me, choosing us, wasn't a step down. I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. I would choose you again every time, promotion or no promotion. I know, she said simply. Then her face broke into a mischievous grin. But I still.